Adventist University of the Philippines, John Lawrence Detweiler Memorial Library, Brief History. Greetings. Allow me to share with you the captivating history of the Adventist University of the Philippines Library, now fondly known as the John Lawrence Detweiler Memorial Library. Settle in, relax, and embark on a journey through our institution's storied past. The AUP-JLDM Library stands as a treasured cornerstone of our heritage, serving not only as a repository of knowledge, but also as a dynamic hub for academic research and learning. Established in tandem with the university itself in 1917, our institution has flourished into a prominent Seventh-day Adventist educational beacon in the Philippines. The library's narrative seamlessly intertwines with the university's enduring commitment to delivering high-quality Christian education, cultivating intellectual curiosity, and nurturing growth within the framework of Seventh-day Adventist principles. Join us in exploring the rich tapestry of our history, where the pursuit of knowledge harmonizes with the values and beliefs that define our academic journey. Professor Blanche G. Palmer, the inaugural PUC librarian, witnessed a transformative era when the Philippine Junior College relocated to Balintawak, commencing classes in June 1931. Under her stewardship, a noteworthy achievement unfolded: the establishment of a spacious library spanning 26 by 36 feet, situated in one wing of the administration building. At that juncture, the library proudly held around 4,300 volumes, with plans for a continual expansion through the addition of new books each year, poised to enrich its burgeoning collection. Professor B. G. Palmer handed over the reins of the librarianship to Mrs. Merely Silloway, appointing her as the head during the critical period of 1941 to 1942, coinciding with the Japanese occupation in the Philippines. In April 1945, Mrs. Natividad Sanglap Mallory answered the call to join PUC, transitioning from her active role as a Bible worker at the West Visayan Mission. Her involvement marked a period of significant growth for the library, with a steady influx of both purchased and donated books. In 1952, Professor Miranda assumed the role of librarian at Philippine Union College. During this tenure, the library actively engaged in the National Book Week, facilitated by Professor Miranda's membership in the Philippine Librarian Association. In preparation for the event, the librarian received materials such as posters, news, and guidebooks to promote the activity. Prior to and following Professor Miranda's departure, along with two other faculty members, for further education in the U.S. in 1955, Miss Miriam Sarno, the assistant librarian, assumed the role of acting librarian. She later advanced in her academic pursuits and became Dr. Miriam Sarno Tumande. Subsequently, Professor Ranche, later known as Mrs. M.R. Matalora, took on the dual roles of librarian and library science department chair in 1963 to 1964. Under her leadership, a local bindery was established, staffed by 3 student workers, one of whom possessed significant expertise in bookbinding. Following Mr. and Mrs. Henry Matalora's relocation to Canada, Mrs. Lord C. Villanueva assumed the position of librarian. 2 years later, a shift in chairmanship transpired as Mr. and Mrs. Henry Matalora answered a call to Canada. Following this change, Mrs. Jean Murdoch assumed the role of librarian and head of the Department of Library Science. Her dedicated team included the assistance of Miss Nelia Albarrastine and Mrs. Juana Donato. During her tenure from 1968 to 1970, Ms. Araceli M. Uriarty made significant contributions to the library. Approximately 900 volumes of general circulation and reference books were procured under her guidance, and the library received a valuable addition in the form of a new Olympian typewriter, generously donated by Dr. and Mrs. Colby Dunscombe from Lodi, California. In 1970, marking a significant milestone, Mr. Daniel M. Cagbay became the first male librarian, succeeding Miss Uriarty. His appointment granted him the privilege of overseeing and upgrading the library services during his tenure from 1970 to 1978. In 1979, with the college's relocation to Ceylon, Mrs. Aditha Tortal assumed the responsibility of establishing library services for the initial students on this new campus. Concurrently, Mrs. Luz Fadri, the current librarian, remained in Baisa, overseeing the larger student population there. Remarkably, Mrs. Fadry holds the distinction of being the longest-serving chief librarian, seamlessly transitioning from the BISA campus to the Ceylon campus. Beyond her role as a librarian, she also served as an instructor in the Department of Library Science. She holds the record for the longest tenure as chief librarian. In 1980, a gradual yet steady process unfolded as the entire library, along with its aging equipment, was meticulously relocated to this campus, seamlessly joining the ensemble of college facilities. The collection, comprising over 24,000 volumes, found a temporary abode in the lobby of the college auditorium and/or gymnasium. This space was specially enclosed to distinguish it from the concurrent physical education activities within the building. Dr. Howard F. Detwiler, Sr., the esteemed philanthropist, generously funded the construction of the university library as a tribute to his late son, Dr. John Lawrence Detwiler. Dr. Detwiler tragically lost his life while scuba diving in the waters of Palawan, and the library stands as a lasting testament to their enduring legacy and commitment to education. On March 2, 1984, a significant milestone was achieved with the groundbreaking ceremony of the John Lawrence Detwiler Memorial Library. This moment marked the realization of a long-cherished dream. Since the inception of Paz Seventh-day Adventist Academy in 1917, the library had been housed within buildings originally designed for different purposes. That year is the fulfillment of this aspiration, a dedicated edifice that provides students, faculty, and the community with an ideal environment to enhance their intellectual capabilities. This establishment represents not just a physical structure, but a symbol of the commitment to fostering knowledge and academic growth for generations to come. Construction of the library commenced in 1984, and its official inauguration for users took place on February 21, 1988. A noteworthy precursor to this event occurred on Valentine's Day, where the Filipino Bayanihan spirit illuminated the atmosphere. A collaborative effort involving 58 faculty and staff members, representing 20 departments, saw the manual transfer of tables, chairs, books, periodicals, and all other library materials, including administration items. This collective endeavor relocated the library from its temporary housing at the college gymnasium to its inaugural permanent home, the John Lawrence Detwiler Memorial Library, a pivotal moment marking the establishment of a lasting center for learning. Ms. Philadelphia Adap, who was then the audiovisual head and assistant librarian, was recommended and approved by the AUP board to be chief librarian in 1996-98, upon the retirement of Mrs. Luz Fadry. Ms. Adap took a study leave, resulting in the appointment of Mr. Nehemias Pasamba as chief librarian at the same library, chair of the Library Science Department. During his term, he initiated the use of computer units and computer files as sources of information. Upon Mr. Pasamba's departure for Thailand, Mrs. Mila Sales assumed the role of chief librarian, later becoming the director of libraries, and took on the position of department chair of library science. During her tenure, significant strides were made, including the automation of library operations, fostering the professional development of library staff, and the implementation of innovative services to enrich library programs. Notably, there was a systematic transition from wooden furniture to more durable steel alternatives, fortifying the library's infrastructure. Furthermore, security measures were heightened through the installation of CCTV cameras and security gates. When Mrs. Mila Sales left for Thailand, Mrs. Ruth Fabella was appointed to be the new chief librarian. Year 2009, Mrs. Mila Sales returned and reappointed as director of libraries. In December 2018, upon Mrs. Mila Sales' retirement, Dr. Michelle Carboniglia assumed the role of director of libraries. This transition was accompanied by the introduction of new library furniture, enhancing the overall environment, upgrading of the library management system and security gate. Notably, a fruitful collaboration between the College of Science and Technology's Biology Department, Fine Arts, and the JLDM Library gave birth to the creation of the Creation Science Center. In January 2024, Mrs. Alva M. Albay assumed the role of the new Director of Libraries. Having been associated with the library since her college years as a dedicated working student, she brings a wealth of experience to her leadership. Now tasked with the responsibility, she eagerly embraces the challenge of advancing the JLDM library by enhancing services, upgrading facilities, strengthening collections, and fostering professional growth among the personnel. Currently, the John Lawrence Detweiler Memorial Library stands as a vibrant hub where students find joy in their studies and learning pursuits. Gratitude is extended to the individuals whose contributions brought this facility to fruition, enriching the university community's educational experience. The JLDM Library is dedicated to meeting the academic needs of the AUP community and visitors, extending its services beyond the university boundaries through community extension initiatives. Notably, the recent addition of the Creation Science Center represents a forward-looking initiative aimed at promoting the understanding of creation and elevating our appreciation for the Creator, our God. This new section contributes to the library's dynamic role in fostering a holistic and intellectually stimulating environment. In conclusion, Ellen G. White reassures us that we have nothing to fear for the future, except as we shall forget the way the Lord has led us, and His teaching in our past history.